Well. Welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm Junor Francis, alongside our producer and my good friend Eric Kohler. Happy 2023. We made it.
Yes,
we lost a lot of wonderful people along the way. This series celebrates and aims to preserve and promote the ska, rocksteady, and vintage reggae scene in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legends and modern-day talents, including those behind the scene. So whether you listen to us on podcast series or on YouTube, we want to thank you for your support. Thank you abundantly. This special episode is our 2022 year in review roundtable with three key figures from the Southern California scene. Musician, selector, Bubba Sanchez, rather to be called the Bubba Master, but I want to just acknowledge his family members, Sanchez, a singer, composer, Miss Jackie Mendez, and veteran promoter, record label operator, Darrell Rubio.
Yes.
How you all doing?
Hello, friends.
Good. Hi.
Nice.
Welcome.
We all made it might come true, you know?
Yes. Welcome to you all. We're really excited about this unique episode, the first of its kind. We're going to have a very insightful and fun conversation here. But first, happy 2022 to each of you three.
Thank you.
How's the year started?
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right. Before we talk about 2022 highlights, which we're going to focus on during the back half of this interview, I want to get a little backstory on the three of you. I know a lot of people from the scene have seen you out and about, seen you perform, seen you DJ, might have been paid by you, Darrell, back in the day as a promoter or label operator. But let's either reintroduce yourself or introduce yourself. And Darrell, we're going to start with you as the elder panelist, and I can say that because I'm an elder as well. But so, Darrell, talk about what the ska scene was like when you first started going to shows here in LA.
Oh, wow. It's completely different than it is now. You know, everyone knew each other back then, of course, and everyone went to the same backyard parties as well and went to the same schools. But we had a lot fewer ska shows back then. A lot of East Coast bands. There wasn't a lot of, the Southern California thing yet. Not until
and
about
when
the
you
mid-90s.
When you say back then,
What year?
Well, I'm talking about, I got into the scene in 1990. So in 90, there wasn't much. We just had like Toasters Come Through, New York Citizens, Bim Scala Bim, bands like that. There wasn't, all the Blackpool stuff or any of that yet. So, we had backyard parties with the Scandals and Imperials and, bands like that from back in the day, before what they transitioned into now. The Federales were, back then, that was one of the few ska ones. Of course, the Israelites and Rich, they've been around forever. So there was very few, ska shows, maybe a handful a year, really, back then.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Interesting enough. So in your case, what came first, your label stuff or you as a promoter, Darrell?
As Stiff Dog.
Well, I started the label first because I used to go to a lot of ska and punk shows, and there wasn't a lot of records out there. There was nothing out there really. So I decided to put together a couple compilations, put together some bands, put them on the label. Then I knew a woman from Northern California. She did a thing called the Scalendar. And when I had my first album came out, it was Generic Ska. It was a compilation. She introduced me to Luis. And
what year was that now?
That was 95.
Posterity. 91.
Yeah, 1995.
95.
So, yeah, so Luis and I got together and went to some shows and got to know each other. And then he did the record release party at Las Palmas Theater in 95 for the first CD we released. And it was, I was in debt to him for that ever since.
And for the record, that's Louis Correa
of Steady
Blackpool and Steady Beat. Right. So what was your process for choosing the bands to put out?
I put out whatever I like. Anything that sounds great to me.
Got it.
And so I like everything: trad ska, ska soul, rock steady, reggae, ska punk ska. So I'm just vast array of different types of ska genre that I like.
And how were you able to reach musicians? What was the process?
I went to every show. Just like I still do.
The most personal approach, right?
Yeah, and I just talk to them and say, hey, you got anything out? If you don't, I could put together an album or whatever. So, but that back then, comps were the way to go to hear bands and stuff like that. It's a lot different now. We had to, when we promoted things, it was all cut and paste. We really didn't have the internet or anything back then, so it was a different time.
How many compilations or how many releases on Stiff Dog did you put out?
I put out 2 comps and I put out 4 releases, I believe, from some of the ska type bands
and
that were out there.
Which were those bands?
The first band I put out was called the Hippos. It was a pop punk ska band from the 90s, mid 90s, 96, 97. We had some good years there. Put out Melting Pot. They're from San Pedro. The Adjustments. They were a band called Janitors Against Apartheid before. Put them out, and a live album by Melting Pot also. But yeah, that was it. But mainly I was like part of the Steady Beat crew. So that's where I learned.
What kind of sales you guys were able to generate back then?
I'm sorry?
What kind of sales number? Just off the top.
Yeah.
We keep it a secret.
No. Many thousands back then. The Hippos was my biggest thing because they went to a major label. But other than that, it was basically just, indie stuff and, just whatever I liked, and went on tour with the bands, and it was just great times back then.
Bubba in the first row.
Yeah, I wanted to say a fun fact about the Hippos is that I believe it's their trombone player is now Billie Eilish's manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I believe
Danny.
the singer became like a hip hop producer or something.
Yes.
Danny Ruckeson. Danny Ruckeson's Billie's manager. I just saw him a couple days ago at her concert. So he hooks me up, which is great. Nice. He just hasn't introduced me to her yet. That's what I'm still waiting for. Ariel went to go on, and he's a Grammy Award winner 3 times. So he does stuff with Haim and many other bands. I forgot the other one I just saw.
Kinds of stuff, then.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of producing there. And then Rich Zonizer is the other trombone player. He does a lot of stuff too. So the guys all went on to do good stuff. Lewis and he does Lewis Castle and James Barry, and they do soundtracks for albums now too. So, but they were young guys, back in the day.
Do they all know that if it wasn't for you and Stiff Dog, they would not have had?
I get my accolades. It's nice. It's nice, and how they introduced me to the bigger wigs now. So I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. And then if you had to guess, how many shows did you do, live shows, whether it was solo or with Steady Beat or any other promoters, and during what window of time were you most active as a promoter?
It was 95 through 99. And it was, Luis and I did tons of co-shows together, both, the trad ska and the ska thing too. A lot of them in Terasa Hamay, and there's a 2 ballroom.
That's where I first became familiar with Stiff Dog, was one of those shows.
Yeah. Well, you and I met through Luis at one of the Marley festivals in 90 something.
Oh, yeah, down in Long Beach Arena.
Yeah. I used to go to those every year. It was around Valentine's Day every year.
Yeah, I remember that. Great. Yeah.
Yes, and I know, Jackie, you've been waiting like a coach lioness to join the conversation.
I'm chilling.
So let me ask you where you grew up and some of your biggest musical influences as a child growing up here in Southern California. Or were you born and raised? Where in Southern California?
South El Monte, California / El Monte. So El Monte is more like north. And I only mention this because some people just want to be like, I guess, politically correct, like South El Monte, El Monte. So I pretty much lived all over those 2 cities, San Gabriel Valley. That's pretty much where I grew up. I want to say like my introduction to just like music in general was, I guess my family, they listened to a lot of Spanish music. So that was always around. I had a little bit of everything, like Spanish, 80s, and just all that stuff. But I didn't really have any family or people that are older than me to show me ska or punk rock. So I kind of found it on my own, I guess, through just, I would say No Doubt was probably one of my earliest influences, all those bands, especially like in the third wave scene, because I feel like that kind of was around when I was in middle school, high school. So a lot of those bands that you guys probably saw like way before they blew up, those are the bands that kind of influenced me, like watching, you know, Safe Ferris and Dance Hall Crashers, so because they were like women fronted bands. So and then as far as like punk rock, I would say like X and, you know, Blondie. I mean, I know they're not like super punk, but they were like around in that time. The Clash. Oh my God, there's so many. And then going more back, like people like Mary Wells, Etta James, just it's like goes all over the place. So as far as like
so I know you sing Rocksteady and Ska. Your first Jamaican legend first exposure, who was the legend you was first exposed or actually saw in concert?
I would say the first was Alton Ellis. And till this day I feel like he's definitely one of my tops. But that was the first, I want to say, like, you know, as far as going back to Rocksteady, all that stuff would be Alton Ellis.
Remember where you saw him?
I actually got to see what happened.
Remember the exact location where you saw him?
It was actually at the Henry Fonda Theater. You threw that show. It was a legend.
That was a big one.
That
was
the
actually
poster.
like,
Here, hold on.
Oh man, that was a show.
Young.
My gosh.
Younger.
And his son Christopher was there.
Well,
that's where he made his debut.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to catch that show because I didn't really get involved in all that until a little later. I feel like I kind of backtracked as far as getting into like ska and all that. It's like I obviously started with the bands that were around at the time and that were active, and then because of the bands that they would talk about that influenced them, and I'd be like, oh, who is that? And then I discovered like the two-tone era, and then I realized, wait, some of these are covers. And once I felt like I heard the originals of those, I just like fell in love with the style. I'm like, I couldn't stop. Like, I mean, I'll always, you know, respect as far as what I got into, like my introduction, but once I found that, it was over. Like I just was hooked. So
I think that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah. So that show introduced me to like just the scene in general. I mean, I went to shows before that, but I want to say that show specifically, so thank you for that, was I'll never forget it. I mean, that was the only time I got to see Alton Ellis, unfortunately. I tried to see him again. I forget what venue it was. I don't even think it's around anymore, but it was in Hollywood. And he had another show like maybe a few months later.
It was up in Hollywood and Highland. Yeah, that was his last show.
It said that it was well, it didn't say it was 21 and over, and I was under 21, and I showed up all like excited, like I'm gonna get to see just him, you know, and they didn't let me in, so I didn't get to go. And my friend was older, so we're like, he picked us up. He was from Victorville. I'm like, you just go ahead and go inside, dude. Like, we'll wait outside. So I literally listened to him from like outside. Like, it was pretty sad, but that was probably the first time and the only time I saw Alton was at that Reggae Legends show. It was epic. It was so epic.
It really was. Yeah, I'll never forget that show either. Jackie, who were the first set of musicians that you worked with?
Like in general, as far as
just in general, as far as whether it's recording or live, or maybe some that you've worked with the most over the years.
I guess when I'm talking about like as far as my solo stuff, the first set of musicians that I worked with was they were under Angel City at the time, the Hurricanes. So it had Dan Bower, Zach Pike, oh my God, I'm going blank right now. Scott Abels,
Brian Dixon.
I think Jeff Govan did a couple tracks too, and then Brian Dixon. So they were like the first, I guess, when it comes to that specific style that I worked with. As far as my solo, you know, my whole solo career, those were like the first dudes, luckily, that I got to work with.
Some top notch and
yeah, it was a treat, man. I mean, they were like the first ones that I linked up with as far as going towards more that style and genre. So I got linked up with them, and that was it.
And let's
They were the first ones that I recorded with.
Let's give props to Angel City, Wally, and Mark.
Mm-hmm.
The crew there.
And now,
so
now you work with Joe. We should also be honest. Doing
45s and
doing more, I guess, soul.
Yeah. Well, I did a recording with. I actually did 2 recordings with them. It was kind of something we've always wanted to do. It just never really happened.
yeah.
I feel like everything happens at the right time, or timing is everything. So I actually recorded 2 tracks with Joe, and they weren't soul, they were reggae tracks, but they're covers. We did Deep Down in My Heart by the Clarendonians, and then we also did Stranger Cole and Patsy Todd, Tell It To Me. I've always loved that song. So those were honestly like, just he picked his song that he always wanted to do, and I kind of presented that song. I always loved it. So we recorded those 2 tracks together. But I would say now I'm mostly working with Eric from the Steady 45s,
right,
the bass player.
Yeah.
Any particular style?
Well, he has his label Blackbird, so he's recorded his band The Illusions, which is soul, and then I'm the second artist that he's pressed. So we're doing more like reggae, but a mix.
Yeah, yeah.
But the last record we put out is reggae, rocksteady.
Right.
And how is the sales of bar?
How does it sound?
No, that's a different question.
What?
How is it moving?
Are you happy with
Honestly,
the
I didn't know what to expect. I feel like we both just kind of always liked working together. I mean, we've experienced playing for so long, touring, and we always would have these ideas like, oh, what if we did this song? Or it's kind of like that. Like whenever we get an idea, we'll just like hit each other up, like just pops, the light bulb goes off. And so I was like very pleased with, I guess, just how much support we got. We're literally doing it on our own. I mean, we're 2 friends just kind of like teaming up and saying, hey, let's do this together. You could record, you know what you're doing. And he was really happy to work with me too, as far as, me wanting to press something with him. And I was excited. It just feels great to like have that independence, and it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding, and it's great to see the support that we get. I mean, I feel like I'm happy with what we got. We, have a few records online. We sold out, and then we had a record release show, and I'm not sure if it sold out, but I think it was, because it was at El Cid. So it's a small place, but it was still packed. Yeah. And just seeing people there supporting something that we pretty much did on our own is like, I don't know, it was a really good feeling. So I feel like so far we've been getting some pretty cool feedback.
Yeah. Wonderful. So the name of the song, so your fans and friends and supporters can go looking for it. What's the name of the song? And what platforms? Is it on all downloading platforms in addition to being in?
It is, yes. So you'll find it on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. So you could go on the Blackbird Records Instagram page. You can go on my Instagram page, and it's going to be under my name, Jackie Mendez. And the 2 songs that we pressed, the side B is a cover of Baby I'm Yours by Barbara Lewis, but we did it rocksteady style. So that's like one idea that we've had like for years and years, but we didn't actually do it till, I want to say, last year. We finally recorded it. And then the other song is Red Flag, which is side A. That's my original. So it was a song I had put together quite a few years ago, and then I just kind of presented it to the guys that are playing with me now. And we went in the studio at Eric's spot and we recorded it, and that was it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about some of the live shows that you were part of this in 2022, and some that you have coming up. But let's turn our attention to Bubba, the Bubba Master. Last, definitely not least here. So Bubba, we first met when you were at Cerritos College as a DJ.
Yes. WPMD, where people make a difference.
Yeah. WKRP, what?
WPMD.
There we go. You DJ, you're a selector around town. You're a musician. you were a musician first, right? Before selector. I mean, obviously you were radio DJ first, but
Right.
right. But and you've been a part of numerous bands over the years.
Right.
One massively important one right now in the Untouchables. But talk about some of the earlier groups that you were part of.
So kind of
And,
like,
and around what time you got into the scene.
yeah, like kind of like Jackie, I got exposed to ska during the let's call it the Orange County ska boom.
Yep.
Like 95 to 97 era, when you could hear ska on K-Rock, Sublime, No Doubt, all of that stuff. I'm staring at Aquabats.
Mhm.
I have an Aqua Cadet award right back there where I
Nice.
Oh,
and so the first band I was in out of high school was called Reload, and then we changed it to Stalking Roxy, and then I think that band's probably played some shows with Jackie in one of her previous bands.
I'm like, wait a minute, my bad. I don't mean to interrupt, but I used to talk to this singer on Instant Messenger. I don't even know how that happened, but literally you would just talk to everybody. But yeah, that's a trip.
Yeah, exactly. You would just like hit up who I used to harass Travis Barker.
Wow.
And then I met him later in life, hoping he wouldn't remember who I was. I hope he doesn't remember who I am. But yeah, it was like a third wave. It was like a third wave female fronted ska band. We did a lot of the we did, you know, a lot of Say Ferris No Doubt covers. We wrote songs, and then I ended up partying with that band, and I joined the Israelites. Now the thing is, when I was in high school, my parents were kind of like didn't let me do a whole lot. I was their oldest. They were young when they had me. They, you know what, they didn't know where the boundaries are, you know, when you're in high school and stuff like that. So I didn't really start going to shows until I was in a senior, and then my friend's mom would take us to shows or whatever. Very few and far between. But so I remember I was promoting a show for one of my other side projects at I don't know if it was a West Coast United show, but it was a show that Rich put on in Uptown Whittier, and Derek Morgan was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mobtown was playing.
Yeah.
And we were listening in the alley. And then we went around front, and then Derek Morgan got there, and I didn't know who Derek Morgan was. I was just like, oh man, there's this old Jamaican dude got out of a van with like the aggro lights before they were the aggro lights.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, want to go to my show? I was listening to my radio show, you know what I mean? And so I tried to sneak in. I had no money at the time. Rich didn't let me in. He didn't know me. But shortly thereafter, we did meet. I joined the Israelites playing trumpet. I got the full Ska 101 and everything from Rich. And it was also around the time I started doing the radio show. So my first radio show was a lot of mix of two-tone and third wave. And then slowly getting more exposed. I had a guest on. I started having guests on. And I had Jason Lawless on. Rest in peace.
Yes.
And Jason was like, oh yeah, you got it. And the great thing about Jason was he was into everything as well, right? He was into everything. So he had a little bit of this, a little bit of that, international music, all kinds of stuff. And so then that was also the time when the Trojan box sets were coming out.
Oh yeah.
So I was loading up on Trojan box sets, reading the back of the CDs. The great thing about the Trojan box sets is it had stories in the back of the CD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you could do all your learning, and at the same time I'm playing with the Israelites, right? Shortly thereafter, I'm still playing with the Israelites. At some point, Rich moves, so we only play reunion shows, and I start playing with Spanky, who used to be in, I think, Kingston 10 and C Spot. And so we had a band called Kingston A Go-Go. And that band pops up every now and then. We backed up the tenors right before the pandemic, which was pretty sweet.
Nice.
And, you know, went in and out of bands. And then at some point I also started DJing, and that was a little bit more recently, throwing DJ events here and there. it's all a blur, to be honest with you. There were some garage bands in there I played in, which was a lot of fun. And you know, I don't even remember the original question.
Well, but you didn't you had a group, Bubba and the Boys too, right?
Bubba and the Boss Boys, yeah. So
oh, yeah, and you played Blue Beat Lounge,
right? The predecessor to that was the Pedal Tones.
oh, there we go.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember them.
Right, Pedal Tones,
yes.
right.
And that
Yeah.
band, okay, so that band started in 2004, and it was actually originally started by Dan Lauren, who plays in the Delirians now. He plays trumpet. And then he had me, he had Esco Chris, for those of you that remember Esco Chris.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
still around. He's still he lives up north now.
Yeah.
And a couple of other guys, and we didn't have a name. And then at some point, the other guys, we replaced them. And then we played a show at Blue Beat Lounge, and we didn't have a name. And Chris Murray just called us No Name As Yet or something like that. I don't even remember who we
Oh,
played.
like Chris.
Yeah, he's like, well, just come play. I mean, you guys have a band, right? Do you guys have a set? We're like, yeah, maybe 20 minutes. He's like, come on down, let's do it. Shortly thereafter, we named it the Pedal Tones. At some point, Dan moved, and then at some point, Chris moved. And so I was just trying to get new guys, and then eventually I switched it to Bubba and the Boss Boys, because it just ended up being me and whoever I could get. And yeah, but that band, a lot of people remember the Pedal Tones. Like a lot of people. Yeah. We were Jerry's favorite band Jerry had been asking me to join the Untouchables since the inception of the Pedal Tones.
Wow.
My roommate Goonies, look her up. Goonies, she's a tattoo artist. Go
Yeah,
get a tattoo.
I know.
She remembers us. She's seen us at Chain Reaction a few times. Dave Gambler from Gambler's Mark, who's a rockabilly psychobilly band, who me and Jackie used to play with a lot. Like 2007, 2008. Sorry, little technical stuff going on here. We played with Gambler's Mark, and Pedal Tones were Dave Gambler's favorite band.
There you go.
And we played at his birthday party in 2009. We did a war medley. But get this, Jackie, do you remember that? We opened
I honestly forgot about that. No offense, but
yeah, no, it's
like
okay. It was a good
dude.
party. We opened up with the introduction of Sunday Morning by No Doubt, right?
Wow.
So we went do 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 do, and everyone's like, "What's going on? This isn't the Pedal Tones. Since when do you cover No Doubt?" And then boom, slipping into darkness.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that was fun.
Right.
So Bubba, you mentioned Jerry Miller,
Yeah,
legend here, not only in Los Angeles, but all over the ska mod scene. So
Yes.
you finally gave in and did join. So when did that come about?
So Jerry's like, Bubba, when are you gonna play? Bubba, when are you gonna play? And I'm like, Jerry, I play in the Viernes 13. Oh, that was another band. I played in a ska core band for a long time. He's like, that's a long story too. But he's like, when are you gonna play with us? And I said, Jerry, I play in this other band. They're my main girl, man. You're the side piece. So you can't be the main girl right now. And he's like, oh, I really want you to commit. And so what started happening is, if we ever played a show together, or sometimes if I was available, I would sit in with the Untouchables, and I'd start, learning the songs and playing with them. And then around, I want to say 2017, so fairly recently, I like officially joined. I ended up officially joining. I think I played with them at the Back to the Beach Festival.
Oh yeah, right.
And that was a kind of a fill-in situation, and that's before we brought the horns back as well. But shortly thereafter, I started just playing with them regularly. We got some horns back in. And now, I mean, I would say if you have the opportunity to go see the Untouchables, now is the time to see them. We have keys and horns back. The Untouchables were playing for a very long time with no keys, with no
foundation,
horns, and it wasn't the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, of course.
If you remember the songs, you could sing along and still have a good time, but it's happening now.
It's a fuller sound again.
Yes, exactly. You know, we had the panel at the Grammy Museum for those that went. That was a fun time with the Box Boys.
Yeah, that was excellent.
That was a highlight.
There were so many awesome people there.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll soon be able to share some good news about that event that was recorded in October 21. So stand by for hopefully some good news coming up on that. But
and there's also going to be some really cool show announcements for the Untouchables this year too. So
you're jumping ahead, Bubba. You're jumping ahead.
Okay,
buddy.
I'm sorry.
So let me take you back to the past. What are some of the highlights? Some highlights of Untouchable high moments up to this point.
Ooh, Back to the Beach was great, and I'll tell you why. Because on Saturday I opened with Viernes 13, and on Sunday I opened with the Untouchables, which means I got into the show for free both days. And I pinched myself, and I'm sure Jackie can relate to this. I pinched myself because I remember when I had joined the Israelites and we first opened when I was in the band. I know the Israelites had played with the Scotalites many times over the years, but when I joined the band at the end of 2002, and then I think we played with them in 2003 or 4 at the Glass House, like that. And, you know, I knew the weight of that. I knew this is the original bass and drummer. These are the guys that invented the backbeat for ska. And, you know, I think I was 19 at the time, so it was a real big deal to me. And everything after that's been icing on the cake. I mean, playing with English Beat and Dave Wakeling. There's bands I haven't been able to play with yet that I would love to. But there's bands that I have played with that's been great. Just, you know, meeting people. And last year we did a few 80s shows. So I got to meet some of those artists.
Yeah. Super cool.
Hopefully I get to play with maybe the Selector at some point. There's been a few opportunities where I was supposed to sit in with Bad Manners that for one reason or another didn't pan out. One of them being the pandemic. But
well, you never know what the future holds, right?
Right. And then
have
even
you
now,
played with any Jamaican legends?
Have I? I mean, the only ones I've played with thus far have been the Scotalites and backing the tenors.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Only, right? Some people haven't had any. Call it only.
Right. And even to go back to my high school days, I mean, now I'm friends with like a lot of the Say Ferris guys, you know, and some of the other bands during that time that I know on a personal level now. It's high school Bubba would be pretty stoked.
Yes,
sure.
An awesome ride for you. Awesome ride.
Yeah.
So where we are now, we up to. I think we want to look at 2022, which was
we're gonna reflect back on 2022. However, Darrell, one more question for you. Circle back around because I know that you have some stories as a promoter. Can you share either a highlight from your promoter years or a low point or a wild story, anything of the a memorable story?
Well, I can show. I have several lowlights and highlights, but one of the lowlights was, I think it was my first show ever, was at Dizzy Debbie's. It used to be called King.
Right.
Then they changed it, and I was just learning how to do shows, and I would, you know, be a runner for Luis at his shows and stuff like that. So when I first did my show, I invited MU330 and Slapstick to come down because they were in Northern California, but MU330 didn't show up. Only Slapstick did. And it was a bad show. It was horrible. I lost money. And so I called Luis to come bail me out. So he's never let me live that down. But I did get another couple bands on the bill, which which was good. So that was really a low light, and I learned from there, which was great. So I'm glad I had that stepping stone, Untouchables reference there, to go ahead and
I knew exactly that losing money was going to be.
Probably one of my highlights is I had a great show. This was when some of these ska punk bands were getting big, but I had a show with I think Luis and I did at the Alligator Lounge in '96 or something. But we had Less Than Jake in town to play. We had Buck 09 play. We had an appearance by the Suicide Machines because they just got signed to A&M, so they were in town recording. We had Meal Ticket and we had the Hippos, and so that was a huge show. Pretty heavy show. So that was a big one. We had a lot of stuff, and we just had lots of great shows, over the time, and some good, some bad. But I'll say the lowest one, and Luis will remember this, is Skazuka 2 at Tarasa Hamay, when we neglected to get a permit, but we sold out the show. So when the cops shut us down, Luis said, this was part of being a promoter. He said, you need to go on stage and tell everybody show's over and we got to give them their money back. We're talking about hundreds of people on that main stage. And so I went up there, people are cursing at me and yelling at me. And then he made me give everybody their money back at the door on the exit, at the exit.
Meanwhile, Luis is already down the street driving away.
he had the car revved up and everything. So that was probably a low light. That was bad, but yeah.
You were no bodily injuries, right?
No. It's just it was bad all around.
Yeah.
Aww.
Those are not fun times.
No.
All right, so now let's have some fun. Thank you. Those are some great stories and introductions, and clearly we can go on and hear more. And throughout the rest of this interview, I'm sure your experience and your shows that you've attended or played will come into play here. But why don't we start with some live performance highlights? I always think that 2022 was probably the first normal non-COVID year, right? Compared to the last few years. Clearly COVID is still around, but a lot of fun shows. I definitely got out more this last year than I have previously. But in no particular order, anyone want to share maybe the first half of last year, any highlights, whether it was touring bands, legend shows, local bands? Jackie, could be your show. Bubba, could be one of your performances. Darrell, you also attend many, I know from social media from talking with you, you also attend many non-ska reggae shows as well that you could obviously talk about too, but free form here. Let's hear from you all.
I can say one highlight I loved. It was Jackie's band played, and I've known Wally forever, so it was but it was a big reunion. I think I saw you. I'm not sure if I saw you guys there, but a lot of people came out. Tommy from Allerton's came out. Robert, was there too. He came out, and he's all in all the bands too. But it was when Jackie's band played with Western Standard Time and
45s.
Yes, and Mr. Kingpin came out from Texas.
And from Vegas, right?
Where was that?
I forgot what.
Don Quixote.
Was that
yes, Don
Quixote? Is that how you, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think Ted was spinning that
yes,
day too.
That was where we were talking about that show.
Oh,
parking was a little challenging.
that was it was.
I got drunk.
But that was a great show. That was just
March. I think that was March-ish, right?
It was what?
Early March, maybe last year.
March, yeah.
But that was just an excellent show. Jackie was great. Then with the backup band too, and I think Crease played with every band.
Yeah,
every band that night. I think that's what it was too.
Yes.
So after that, I feel like he just plays with everyone. He's like the drummer right now. And so every time after that show, we would be like, "Oh, is it another Crease Fest?" Crease Fest, because he was like with every band.
Yeah, that was
he killed it, man.
Yeah,
killed it.
Yeah, and Jackie, your duet with Joe too was also powerful that night.
Yeah, that was fun. I was actually gonna bring that show up too, because that's like the first one that pops in my head as far as the beginning of last year. I don't know. I could be wrong if I did anything before that. So, yeah. But that one was like the one that comes to my mind because I felt like it was a really dope show and the response was great. And I also fell on stage, but I don't think anybody saw.
I didn't see that.
Hopefully you didn't get hurt.
No, actually, I played it off. Like, I would hope that I did. Like, kind of like the way Beyonce just gets up and keeps dancing. I just, like, remember sliding more. Like, I did a slide. And then, like, Tony was playing in front of me, and he was just like... And then I remember him saying, F yeah, because I got back up. And I was like, nothing happened. I just got up like this. And I would always tell myself, man, like, I hope I never fall on stage. And I mean, I'm pretty sure most people have, but it happened to me that night very quickly.
Off stage, like from the stage, off the stage.
No, hell no. It wasn't off. It was like I stayed on the stage. The mic was still in my hand, you know. I didn't let that thing go. That's so awesome. It's all good.
Yeah, and that was and Jesse Wagner from Agrolites, that was when he kind of started his now more regular set with Western Standard Time too. So, yeah, that was a big show for the scene. I agree. Bubba, what's one of your highlights?
I very much was bummed that I missed that show.
Oh, so we're rubbing it in. Sorry.
Yeah,
it was so fun.
It was so amazing. Remember, Bubba? Remember? I fortunately or unfortunately I think we were playing one of the first shows at a new venue in Venice called the Venice West.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a cool spot. It's a small room, but it holds about 200. It has a great sound system, great sound guy, great lights, everything. Parking's kind of rough, but it's a pretty awesome spot. So, but yeah, I was really bummed to miss that one. I'm actually scrolling through some shows. I mean, like I said, everything's a blur to me.
I did that earlier.
Yeah,
I was like going through my stories on Instagram, like how sad.
I've definitely got to
like
say,
my brain can't remember.
Yeah, not at all. And then you merge years, right? But I would say a couple of things. Well, one band I was glad to see a few times last year was the Scotalites, and people are like, oh, you know, say what you will about the lineup it is now, right? No, there are no original members in the band. You are correct. But there are legendary musicians in the band.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Ken's been in the band for like 30 years.
And now with Larry McDonald playing with them. I mean,
and Val on bass. I mean, dude, and then Sparrow, the drummer, was handpicked by Lloyd Knibb.
Right.
And they played on Lloyd Knibb's last album, which Jason released. It's half Sparrow and half Lloyd Knibb. So I'm always excited when those guys come to town and meeting the new musicians as well. And I think I saw 3 or 4 of their shows last year. I think I went to all the LA shows last year. So nice. Those were fun. They were fun. I would say if you haven't seen them, you know, don't listen to the people that are negative. Go see them, man.
Disconnected.
You know what I mean? Go catch the Scotalites. And
Bluetooth connected.
and then that was someone's computer's talking.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened right now. I didn't even press anything.
Right.
The hell?
But I would say I very excited. I was very excited how many times the Scotalites have played in the last couple of years in LA.
Yeah. I mean, I think to that point, Bubba, too, you know, the foundation artists, the legends, I mean, we should all get out, and people should get out and support live music in general, right? To keep the bands and the artists going. Promoters, you know, the best way to get promoters to continue to support and book bands that we all love, right, and to bring these legends to town is by getting out and ensuring that they're successful, right? I mean, you know, a lot of the legends, and I know this past year we had an opportunity to see and work with Derek Morgan, right? We can talk about the El Rey Theater show. Also talk about the the Keith and Tex and Rudy Mills show right here in Orange County. But you know, it's definitely important that they're not getting younger, but they still have amazing voices, have the big hearts, and it's wonderful to see these legends work with some of the most amazing and talented musicians locally. I mean, that's something that's been going back to the late 90s here, that Junior and I have been fortunate to be, you know, part of. But seeing them, right, and supporting them when they come to town is super important.
100%. Yeah, you got it. I mean, you got to go, man. You got to go, especially the foundation guys, like you said. I mean, they come, a lot of them. Some of their last shows were in LA.
Yeah,
quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie, what you mentioned earlier with Alton Ellis, and yeah, a number of them. I mean, if I even look in the wall behind me,
and I'm like, I want to see the poster.
I know.
I
Yeah,
wish I had a poster. That's so cool.
yeah.
So we should mention, now that we mentioned legends coming to town, we should also mention that Stranger Call is coming in March.
Woo-hoo.
Yes, indeed.
Right. This show right here.
We can emphasize enough that people should support the legends. This is how they make their living. They're not carpenters, they're not plumbers. Nothing is wrong with being carpenter, plumber, or mason, or even doctors or lawyers. These are musicians, and this is how they make their living.
Yeah.
I think another highlight was Ocean 11 returning.
Yes.
I mean, that was just amazing when you guys put them on with Derek Morgan and when they played with Western Standard Time.
Yes.
I mean, so long it's been.
Absolutely. Another big highlight, right, is the reunion of Ocean 11, a band that's super important to our scene here. Mm-hmm. You know, the stars align where Oliver, right, was off the road with playing with Ben Harper. And they sound
and
amazing.
will be off the road
and will be again,
16,
right?
March 16.
Right. Yes, on the Stranger Cole show.
You guys need to have a panel with Oliver, Fredo, and Corey.
Oh, I know, they can talk about Gogo Bordella.
Exactly.
I know, isn't that great? Right, three of our best drummers from the scene playing with that band. Yeah. Yeah, Ocean 11, absolutely. Sounding as tight as ever. I was not able to make the show in December, but I saw a video, and man, just as tight and thick and beautiful sounding as ever.
And we had some old school musicians come back in. Fredo came back in. David Haruki came in
with Western Standard Time. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. And that was pretty awesome to see those guys come back.
Yeah, and Oliver played drums with them for the show too.
So while we're on the subject of reunion, they work up other reunions, right? Allentons.
Right, Allen.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah.
I missed that too.
I missed that, but that was I saw some footage of that. That was a great show. And then not on the traditional side, but I know some of you are familiar. Chase Long Beach reunited.
Sure.
For I think a House of Blues Anaheim show.
Right. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, it was a few bands too, I think, that had reunions of that at that show. Like half the lineup, or 3 out of 4 bands or something were.
I think you're right. I'm drawing a little blank, but yes, I think you're right there. And then a band that I finally got to see in Bubba, we were hanging there, but opening for the Slackers, Bite Me Bambi. They were amazing to see live finally. But Slackers alone had a great year, right? I mean, earlier in the year they played downtown LA.
Yeah, well, one of my highlights for
they played a park in Wilmington.
That's right. Yes, a free show.
Yeah, show as part of the Getty's anniversary.
Yeah, but then they ended the year here in Orange County, and I mean, just talk about people call them the Grateful Dead of ska, right? They just tour nonstop and continue to play it.
Literally always on the road.
Yeah, always on the road and always deliver really well.
Respect.
Europe,
well, you know sorry.
Europe and the United States.
Say that again.
They tour in Europe and the United States regularly, both.
You know, the Bite Me Bambi has a summer sizzler thing every year at the observatory in Orange County, where they invite a bunch of different bands, you know, which is great. So you get to see a bunch of different bands you've never seen, or bands that come back, like Codename Rocky came back and
Right.
and played also, but and they have Suburban Legends, I think, came back and played also. So they have a lot of that type of, ska that comes back with them, but they play a lot, and they're just Bobby Mammy's an excellent band too.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
And
it was Garden Ale.
What's that?
I think it was at the Garden Ale, wasn't it?
Yes,
the
I'm sorry.
Garden
Yes, right.
Amphitheater, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great place to see bands too.
Scott Kloppenstein, who was in Real Big Fish, he played trumpet, guitar, and sang, moved back to Orange County. I found out because I found him streaming on Twitch during the pandemic.
Oh, nice.
And he had moved to New York, and I was like, see you later. And he came back, and so his band, Littlest Man Band.
Oh, right.
Reunion at one of those summer sizzlers as well.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
It's a fun show. It's a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I know, and Darrell, you caught some of them. The Precoasters, right? Came around from.
Oh, that's a band, a must-see band. We tried to get them as much exposure as they could out down here, and I got to thank Aton for that. He got them on a show with them in Long Beach, and it was just fantastic. They did well on merch, but they got a lot of exposure there too.
Yeah,
but the Precoasters are an excellent band. They're not necessarily ska. They're like soul, rock steady,
right?
But they incorporate some of that. But they're a great band to catch.
Yeah, I know
Florida,
Chuck.
Right?
Yeah, from Florida, right? Yeah,
Chuck. Yeah, on Chuck's label. Yeah,
Chuck from Jump Up works with them. And then the In Defense of Ska tour was a big one with Buck 09 and Mustard Plug this year. Bubba, touch on some of the Untouchables highlights. I think you all went over to. Did you play Catalina? Was that this year?
We played Catalina Island. So there's a tour called the Lost 80s tour, and it's been going on for several years. And it LA area might know it because it's at the Greek Theater every year.
Right.
And that organizer puts on a show on Catalina Island every year. And it's not huge, and it's a little pricey because you got to get there, and the tickets aren't cheap, but it's pretty fun. It's like on this beach club all the way at the end behind the casino on Avalon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big lawn. They put a stage at the end, and I mean, we played with Drama Rama, Tommy Two-Tone, the singer from the Romantics, Shannon. Stacy Q.
Wow.
Flock of Seagulls unfortunately had to pull out, but they do several of those shows.
Yeah.
The English Beat closed it out. So we did the Friday. We were asked to do the Saturday, but we were unable to do it. We were asked kind of like at the last minute to help fill the time, I think, because a couple of the musical youth couldn't make it. And I would say for the past several years, and it, partially due to the pandemic, the getting the visas, I think, has been kind of hard for some of these artists. So that's come into play as well. But we had a great time, and we did 2 of the Lost 80 shows. We did Bakersfield, which was fun, and we did one in San Diego at I don't know if I don't think it's a new venue, but it's called Humphreys by the Bay, and it's basically the courtyard within a hotel. And they set up so if you get those primo hotel rooms, oh man, you can have a good time.
Yeah,
one of those shows. Yeah, that was sold out. And those are awesome shows.
No, it's great. It's great that Untouchables. I think they had a really good year.
Yeah, and we should be doing some more of those shows this year.
Nice.
If not those shows, with some of those bands, I can't say, but I'll say this. Last year, one of the highlights for me also was in October. We played with Boingo Boingo former members up in San Jose. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I posted a fake flyer with Fishboy and Oingo Boingo former members and the Untouchables. I'm like, what would you pay for this? Where would you want to see this? Blah, blah, blah. And apparently...
Is this breaking news?
Well... That lineup hasn't been confirmed yet, but yeah, Oingo Boingo, they did have fun playing with us, and they do want to play with us again.
All right.
So I'll say that. So be on the lookout for that.
That'd be great. Yes, yes. Jackie, oh, somebody going to say something? No. So Jackie, after that show with Western Standard Time in March, I know you played a number of other shows throughout the year. Touch on some of the other shows you played last year.
I think I actually was going through the list just like Bubba was right now, because I try to look back on everything, and like he said, it's a blur. I feel fortunate though, because it means that I've just been having a lot of fun just with literally every show that I've been doing. So I'm grateful for that. But I think for me, it was really fun playing Tiki Oasis. I've never been to that event, so it was actually my first time being a part of it and attending. And I just kind of tripped out on like how much of a party it is and how like into it everybody gets with like the whole Tiki thing. And it's in San Diego, and we got to play with, so that I think it was the first year that they did a day with reggae, because it's usually like surf or rockabilly. So as far as I know, Marv was setting up the day where there was reggae. And I gotta say, it was really dope, because the Agrolites played, they closed the show, and then the Capsules played as well. That was really fun. So I opened the show. Excuse me?
Yeah, I was there.
Junior was down there.
Yeah, so it was so fun. And then it's not only the show itself, because I feel like that's kind of during the day, but what really like tripped me out was the after parties and the hotels. And I didn't even know about that. Chris, actually, from the Capsules, drummer, he actually told me and Eric, we were all together, he's like, hey, let's go to the, like, I don't know how Chris, he knew about all the parties. He's like our straight edge like friend that is just probably he's like the one that hangs out with us, stays up, doesn't have one drop of like anything, but he always knows where everything's happening. So he's like, oh, come on, let's go. And then like he hands me a drink, and I'm just like, what the hell? Where are we going? And so literally people turn their rooms into like parties. It was like such a trip. You walk in and they're decked out too. They're like decorated and everything. Like palm trees, real palm trees. And yeah, it was really cool. They had people like spinning. I remember this one room in particular, and it was great because they started playing like Studio One stuff and like a bunch of Rocksteady, and it was like jam packed. Everybody was dancing. It was a really good time. I tripped out on how much of a party it is, and how everyone already kind of knows the deal as far as people waiting in line outside of people's rooms. I thought that was really crazy. So yeah, it was cool. That was a really cool event. I hope that they do that again, as far as like having reggae and, you know, just making it a day of reggae as along with the other genres. I thought that was really cool. What else?
It seemed to have been curated really well too. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah, it was a great turnout. It was really fun. So that sticks out because it was the first time I ever went. I've always heard about it, but I never made it out there. So that was really cool to be able to go and also be a part of the event. What else? I mean, obviously, I also do like side things. So apart from like doing my solo thing and, you know, being the front person, sometimes I'll sit in on backups with certain bands. And it's more like on the soul side of things. So a band that I've been having the pleasure of, you know, joining the stage with them is Los Yesterdays. They're like pretty newish, soul, man, right? Very
Gabe Roth,
old school Penrose band. Yeah. So I got to do a last minute show with them. They did like a Penrose showcase, and they pretty much had all their whole roster play. It was at in Riverside.
Yeah, oh my God. Mono did that one. Yeah.
Yes, and the place was beautiful. It was like a old theater style. But that event pops out to me too, only because I just saw the camaraderie with like all the bands and people showing up. And it's amazing to see like how many people like showed up for them, and just to see like the success in all those bands. And some of them are my friends, you know, so it's a trip to see how far they've come. And it was really nice to be a part of that. That sticks out.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
That whole East Side Soul or Chicano Soul, however you want to describe it. I mean, that there were some big shows too. That showcase I think also happened in LA somewhere, but a lot of those bands have enjoyed some good success.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could go. I forgot what was going on, but then Vic from Los Yesterdays was like, hey, would you be able to do this show? And I'm like, oh yeah. And then I realized it was the showcase.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a show that I didn't think I would expect to do. So I feel like a lot of those are always the best because you didn't expect it. So that one was another one. Of course, performing with Derek Morgan was probably like the top thing I can think of. Even the Keith and Tex show, even though Tex wasn't there, it was still amazing. I mean, to see Rudy Mills and, you know, Keith on stage together, and that was really great. That was a fun show too. The parking was crazy, but it was cool. What else? We already talked about the Don Quixote show with Western Standard Time. That was another cool one. I think a lot of the ones that I feel where it's the scene kind of coming together, like as far as the bands that have been playing and are still trying to keep it going. Like, I just feel like when we join forces, it's always just so much fun because we all kind of know each other. It's like a big party, hangout, and then you see a lot of friends and you meet a lot of people, and it's just great, you know, to kind of have everybody together like that. Those are always my favorite shows for sure.
Bubba, I think you were going to say something.
Oh, I don't remember. There was a couple things, but I wanted to say that, you know, the Los Yesterdays guys, Vic, I'm not sure the drummer's name.
Gabe,
yeah. That they worked on the music for Subfool, right? On Hulu with Chris Estrada.
Oh wow!
Merging my comedy world and the music world, and also Tommy, who plays with Los Yesterdays a lot too. He does a lot of music for TV shows and movies. So
that guy is
just something that popped in.
So sick.
The whole scene is it's just, don't hesitate, man. Come out, man. If there's a show, just come out, especially for the legends. But even if it's a more current band, the Deliriums, the 45s, Jackie, the Capsules, you know.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And these bands, you know, they're not, you know, they don't cause a farmer's ransom. They're fairly inexpensive.
Yeah.
Ticket prices are not always that high. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Must say also last year, Interrupters had a pretty incredible year with their big tours.
They did that tour with Flogging Molly. Yeah,
that was a big.
Went to the 5 Point show, and it was awesome.
Yeah, we had a good time talking with Jesse and Justin Bavona a few months ago. So,
and the Skints,
and the Skints, yeah,
Skints.
Oh, I love them.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
They're awesome.
Yeah, and then also we should touch on. I was not able to attend any of them, but there also were some really big Latin ska and ska core type shows around town as well. I know Matamosca did a bunch of a number of shows.
Yeah, Matamosca tends to play quite a bit. I'm not knocking them. Go see them. We would play them a lot with Viernes Trece, and you know, the Evo Core. So that promoter, he's not doing as many things these days as far as those shows goes, but he's still having his big shows. So January 28th, he has Skaland coming up. And I know we're going to get into that, but he throws those big events. Mm-hmm. There's another promoter on that side, Concrete Jungle. He throws, you know, those big ska core shows. And, well, I guess when we start talking about the future, that's something I think that's a scene that we really...
Right.
That's a resource, man. Those are kids that don't know everything yet.
Right.
Adults, or they do, and they may not know that what shows are going on.
Yes. No,
they may only know about the ska core shows, you know?
Yeah, great point. We actually, Junior and I do have a panel that we're putting together along those lines, but yeah, that's great to hear.
But it's a huge challenge though. You know, when Saya was around before he left for Ethiopia,
right?
We had a couple of meetings with those guys trying to merge traditional with Latin ska. It's real challenging. As a matter of fact, I have passed out flyers on practically all those shows up until the pandemic. And the only time I got good response was for the Scatterlights.
Right. You know,
not Morgan. People just want a familiar.
I do got to give props to Evo Core, and I know that Jackie and Darrell can probably attest to this, that he's been really like so there's Skaland, and then there's like Ska Core Invasion, and then there was Ska Wars. There were like these 3 festivals every year. And Gareth and I would play all of them every time. You know what I mean? So they all merged. I just remember different locations. But there was always someone on it. There was the 45s and the Delirians and Buck 09 were on it. You know, so I mean, I know I only say that because you got the old style, and then you got a 90s band that he threw on there.
Right.
Yeah. You got Los Agrios plays there too.
Los Agrios.
Los Nauticals also.
Slackers,
Toasters.
Almost, yes.
I mean,
I think we had Western Standard Time one year too. Sorry.
Yes, and they're coming back.
They're coming back, yeah.
And there was a year that he had, and this was epic, and I don't even know if that crowd knew this, but he had the Toasters and the Slackers on the same bill.
Wow.
And it's like, I asked them, have you guys ever done that in LA? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You got the like premier 80s ska band, premier 90s ska band on the same stage across the country.
Right.
And I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. And then the other promoter threw a show at the same venue, and it was the Untouchables and the Toasters.
Wow.
Together in like whatever it was, 2019.
Yeah. Right.
Co-headlining one of his festivals.
Right.
And I was just
that's big. That's great.
Whoa!
Yeah. I would have loved that when I was a kid. Also.
Yeah. What before we move on from live performances from last year, any that we're missing? There weren't too many festivals on the ska side of things.
More reggae side.
Right.
Well, English Beat did play the Cruel World. I guess that's one thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually wrote that down. I mean, I was there.
Yeah,
I
was there.
That was a great show. Devo and Blondie and Morrissey.
Is that the Blondie?
Morrissey,
Devo
Bauhaus.
is my favorite. Devo is always my favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blondie played. Yeah.
Yeah, PIL.
Yes. Johnny Ratton. Bauhaus too, right? Yeah. That was a nice festival.
Yeah, it was great.
And then you attended Reggae on the Mountain on the reggae side of things, right?
Yeah.
There was Cali Vibes.
And then there was We Shouldn't Leave It Adamari Jerk Fest.
Right.
He had a couple of some pretty good names.
Yeah.
I remember Alba.
Well, not a show, but Ted was always promoting rhythm and blues, and so was Bubba.
You're jumping again. We were gonna get there.
No.
Yeah, okay. That was every month.
Well,
That's a perfect transition to the and we were talking off the air. Junior said this how the DJs also really have kept the scene vibrant and going. Bubba, we'll include you in that. The selectors. So some of the popular night spots, or in the case of Rhythm and Blues, afternoon spots, right? So the Ted hosted, right? The Rhythm and Blues was a big one. That was a monthly, right?
Well, yeah, we tried keeping so. For those that don't know, me, Ted, and Roger are birthday triplets. So we all three have the same birthday, and occasionally we celebrate at Rocksteady Lounge, which is monthly. But we also started celebrating at Ted's house annually, and over the pandemic, we had a virtual birthday party on Zoom where we DJ'd, and then the end of 2020 we had a New Year's Eve party, which was cracking, like on Zoom. And I still I don't know if I can show you, but I have a disco ball in my room right now. There's a spotlight right there. There's a disco ball behind me. But anyways, like we had a good time. And so me and Ted have been friends for several years too, but so he's a big fan of beer. And so he's like, what do you think? There's a thing up north where these guys have afternoon DJ at a brewery. I think they have it at a brewery. If not, it's a beer and wine bar. So we got Mumford Brewing I'll get to agree to host us. And so we had been every third Sunday. And unfortunately, our last one at Mumford was in December. We didn't know it was going to be our last one, but Mumford, their last day open was this past Sunday, which was January 3rd. Yeah. So we're going to have our next one at Benny Boy Brewing in Lincoln Heights, not too far from the Airliner, for those of you guys that know where the Airliner is, that neighborhood. And I'm not sure, we have the whole year planned out. We have DJs planned out for several months, out of town DJs, record swaps, and so hopefully if we're gonna do Benny Boy, if that works out, we might keep it there. We might try some other places, but so I'm the promoter undercover promoter on that, and Ted usually works with all the DJs to get them up to speed and get them out. And
yeah, no, that was a great one with some nice special DJ guests over the year, throughout the year. So
any other spots you want to mention?
I mean, Rocksteady Lounge, you touch on that's also
every third Thursday at Bar in Silver Lake. Yeah,
right.
They've been going strong for a mighty long time.
They have
like 14 years, I think it's going to be this year, maybe 15.
Wow. It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Terry,
I used to go when it was on Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not going nowhere on Monday, but I used to go to Rocksteady Lounge a lot at one point, like every Monday. Cheap Red Stripe and Anchor Steven Pictures.
Right.
And I wouldn't even drink that shit anymore, but it was cheap. So.
And Marv Mack and his Soul Side. I mean, they've been doing some quite regular events still, right?
He's working like a firefly. He has multiple things going.
Yeah.
Marv Mack.
Right.
And then this is like a newer thing, but me and Eric actually started DJing at the Grasshopper in Long Beach. Right. We just started it like last year, and it's kind of sporadic, only because we get really busy at some points. We're like, dude, we have like this and that. I don't know if we could DJ too, but we try to make it happen whenever we can. I got hit up to do that, which I never. It's okay. I have my dogs in here too, and I'm glad they've been really quiet so far. I have them inside right now because it's raining, but yeah, we started doing it on Sunday as well, like an early thing in Long Beach. Right. So we do play reggae, ska, soul, but the thing we kind of like started doing was inviting just different genres too, just to mix it up. I think it's cool. We had Tony play like disco. It was really random, but he's like, could I spin some disco records? I'm like, sure. I mean, we all love music, so why not? We've had like freestyle stuff, Spanish music, like just randomly, just to like get people dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're actually doing one this Sunday. So if you guys aren't doing anything, or whoever's see this, you guys should come out. It's free. Free.
And that would be Sunday, the
January
8th.
Well, this should be uploaded. So why don't you give them the address again?
The address? Oh shit. It's at the Grasshopper. I know it's on Anaheim Street. No, wait.
Yeah, it's on Anaheim.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, wait, am I wrong or am I right? I don't remember.
It's not too far from
I'm like, it's 136 East Anaheim Street.
There we go.
It's like pretty close to Supply and Demand to that venue. It's like on the same street.
I think that's where Marv Mack is doing his thing now.
Oh, okay. So it's a small place. It's really charming though. It's super cool. They have an outdoor area. We just started it like last year, like I said.
Nice.
So it's been nice to be able to spin records. I don't spin all that much. I don't even consider myself a DJ at all. But obviously I do love buying my records, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, like just to share music. So now I know why people like dig DJing so much. It's just fun. I'm kind of selfish though. I kind of play what I want to hear,
but Davey the Kid, right, started doing his Ready Steady Go.
Ready Steady Go, yeah.
Yeah.
That started out at the Offbeat Bar, and now it's moved to the other side, not too far
Outside
from
Pasadena.
there, to the Barclay in South Pasadena.
Right.
And the Untouchables will be there for free January 21st. Pre-show. Yeah, and Davey will be there. Davey's actually he's having like a weekend there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Saturday is also, if you guys know Cheeto, SoCal Soul Patrol.
Yeah.
He does stuff. He does stuff in Long Beach as well. There's a lot going on as far as the DJ circuit.
Yes.
Isn't there a mod band playing with you? Another mod, the question or something?
The Question.
Yeah, The Question. They're another 80s band that used to play with the Untouchables all the time.
Right.
And they're playing as well. So it's the Untouchables, The Question, and then they're going to be spinning everything that night.
Yeah. And again, what's that date?
January 21st.
Okay. Excellent.
And then we also, just a, I guess, quick plug, really quick. February 18th, we'll be at the Venice West, and February 19th, we'll be at Hurricanes in Huntington Beach.
And that's, and we is...
You guys are staying mighty busy.
The Untouchables.
Congratulations, man. Keeping the scene vibrant.
Yes. And then Junior, you've been doing with Lady Isla.
Yeah.
The Mermaid, right?
Yeah,
monthly.
You're good friends.
Early in Sean's
we had
place,
an excellent turnout
downtown LA.
This past Wednesday.
That's right. It was cracking Wednesday, guys.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man.
And then Isla's also been doing at the Scotland Pub.
She
Scotland Yard.
Right. That's the last Saturday of every month.
And there's a couple other DJs out there in the Valley in addition to her that also host event at the Scotland Yard Pub. I believe if you look up 818 Reggae Soul or something like that on Instagram, you'll find his as well.
Okay. Nice. Dub Club came back, right? Doing some monthlies, which is great.
Yellowman, Sister Nancy, half a pint. It was some excellent concerts.
Yeah.
I may have left out some people there. I can't remember those.
Delirians played.
Right. And
Quinto Soul.
Yeah, Delirians had a massive turnout.
Right.
Huge turnout.
That was fun.
Were you present?
Yeah, I was there. I went to go support.
Yes.
Nice.
The Delirians, yeah. I always try to be wherever I can, support the homies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm actually a fan too. I know their songs. I toured with them and I learned all the songs.
Right.
I'm singing along at every show. I'm I know I heard this song 100 times already, but it's all good. That was it. That was a good one.
King Steady Beat, right? Lewis does he does some DJ events around.
Yeah.
Well, another big thing in 2022 is Luis opened Steady Beat Records, an actual record store.
Yes.
In San Pedro.
Yes. Absolutely. Great spot to come down.
Yeah. He has some live bands playing in front also.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Lewis, I'm going to finally get down there. I promise you.
And I was gonna say that same night, January 21st, if the 80s mod scene's not your scene, Steady 45s are also playing at Dub Club.
Oh, at the Dub Club.
Right. Yeah. Same night. Yes. That is a big night. Yes. And then another fun night that I had a chance to be part of. The Grand Museum hosted Don Letts and the Rebel Dread documentary, and then Boss Harmony did an after party with his punky reggae party downtown. So that was a really fun night for the scene.
Very successful.
Well, I wanted to go so bad, but the Who was playing.
Same night. The Who played
the same night.
I know. Yes, but that was a fun one.
Blame you for that, man.
I can't either. Anything else on the clubs, day nights, DJ events before we talk about some live record, or rather some recordings, new albums?
I'm gonna feel really bad if I missed anything.
I know.
I know.
You go blank.
But this is a good opportunity too. You do also how you support the scene. You have a few social channels, right? That you push out.
Are we going to transition into the future stuff soon?
Why don't you give out? Why don't you plug your social?
So I have two little promo. The main one's the Boss Sounds. So if you follow the Boss Sound on Instagram, I post majority. It's ska, rock, steady, reggae. Majority 60s stuff. I'll slip some Untouchable shows in there for obvious reasons, But yeah, like you'll see Jackie's shows on there in the stories, or I'll post those. I'll post flyers for shows, tours, DJ events, and then as well as Moonstomp OC. And Moonstomp OC, that was something that started out a few years ago with, actually, before she was my roommate, Goonies, and a couple other friends. We started throwing, there was nothing going on in Orange County. So we were throwing DJ nights in Orange County at different bars, and oh man, they would go off.
They were fun.
Yeah, they would. So that's actually going to be coming back this year.
Nice.
And the Boss Sound's going to start, in addition to Rhythm and Brews, is going to start hosting some other events as well.
Great.
So, but I also use those as channels for promoting other things, not just whatever I'm doing. It's to promote the scene as a whole.
It's important to keep the scene vibrant. Absolutely.
And you've been doing a good job, really,
Yes.
and truly.
Very much so, Bubba. All right, so now let's reflect back on some, whether it's single releases or album releases, right, from last year. Not just Southern California based artists, but any from the scene as a whole. You know, I'll start, for instance, with both the Slackers and Dave Hilliard had some great new releases that came out last year. I think the Dave Hilliard one was one of my favorites, with Larry McDonald playing on there. Some really great sounds. But I'll kick it over to any of you to touch on a few.
I've got a great one with John Roy keeping the scene alive down in San Diego with all the smoke and mirror stuff he's been doing.
Sound system, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, Jeff's down there, you know, doing his thing with them too.
Yep, Jeff Govan, absolutely.
But they got some great releases.
They really have, yes, really creative.
And speaking of San Diego, we should make mention of the Amalgamated. They too have a new release.
Yes,
they're presently promoting.
Amalgamated, and actually on that point, their release produced by dub robot Brian Wallace, who we know really well from. Oh yes, yeah, from Mobtown and C Spot. I know he worked on that one. He also worked on the Westbound Train album that came out this last year as well. Solid one. So big props to Brian, dub robot.
Also, I mean, he's also recorded a lot of other stuff too.
Yes,
like Westbound Train, and what was that? There was the Brad and Boom Boom album, I think he worked on as well.
Yeah.
That was
after hours. Yeah,
After Hours, man, that was great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Brian's the man.
He is. Hepcat, right, had their
Really
7 Years of Plenty new single. Jackie, you had, as we talked about earlier, you had some.
We released our 45 under Blackbird, Eric's label. So it was my first release with them. We waited a while for that record, not lying. It took like almost a year to get, because pressing plants are just like so backed up right now. But it was still exciting to be able to kind of bring the song back, which I felt people like heard it, but then I got like more people discovering the song. So it kind of worked out. It's like a double release. Like you release a video and then it's like, here's the record. And then we did the show and all that. But I thought about it because you guys mentioned Brian Wallace, and he's actually been the one to master like all of our stuff.
Oh, great.
So everything that I've recorded like with Blackbird last year and what I've released this year, he's been the one to pretty much master everything. He's like our go-to
secret weapon. Yeah. Brian.
So it's pretty great to be able to like kind of keep it in the family and everybody works together. But yeah, that was like what I released this year. And then I released another single called Should I? And it was kind of my first ska, like traditional style ska song I've ever released, because I feel like I mostly went towards reggae. So that was fun to be able to release ska style song this year. And that's also under Blackbird. So those are the two the highlights. I also do stuff with Sola Records. They're like a new soul label from Los Angeles, but I do more like soul style stuff with them.
Nice. Okay.
So that's another thing that's going to be coming out soon as well.
All right. Keeping busy and diversifying.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of stay in one lane for me. I don't go too far off, but
No, it's great.
Notice I like to kind of switch it up. I feel like there's so many genres that I love personally listening to. So when I write, it just kind of comes out. So I try to keep it interesting for sure, like as far as styles and genres. Not on purpose, it just happens.
I want to also mention Bite Me Bambi released a single with Lee Scratch Perry. Is his last thing that he ever did.
I have it here
and that was on John Halpern's label, Stay Free Recordings.
Yeah, Crazy
that
was mixed and produced by Scratch.
Yeah, and that was his last thing.
And then on the flip side, they covered Police and Thieves.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a great one. And also, while we're talking about Bite Me Bambi, their other single, Want You Bad, great fun video. Greg Lee, Jesse Wagner, Angela Moore, and Scott, who we talked about from Real Big Fish earlier. That's a really fun video.
Well, they have a lot of great videos.
Ranks is in there for a minute too from the Pilfers.
Right. Yes.
So Darrell, I wanted to bring you in. So how about some of your richer stuff? Are you gonna do any more release, or you just living off your life?
No, I actually I had a hiatus for the mid 2000s because I started a family. So but I brought it back this year, or last year, 2022. But we have a few releases in the works, something with Steady Beat. A couple other things, maybe the Melting Pot new album. The Janitors Against Apartheid are going to be something else coming out on vinyl for the first time. Just things that I want to release, you know, is what I'm going to do. That's what I've always done. So.
Well, that's excellent. Hey, and I actually meant to ask this earlier when we were talking about reunions. Melting Pot, also, because they had not really been active as of late up until some shows that they did this past year. Is that accurate or not?
You know, that's true, but they do switch some members. You know, they come and go. The core is still there, but you know, Donald Lewis has his own studio, One Take Studios in San Pedro, and he does a lot of stuff with Luis. That the Los Aglios comes out of there, and you know, a lot of other recordings, you know, on the vinyl comes out of there too. So, you know, Donald and Luis just put out what they want, you know, which is how it should be.
That's great. Yeah. I need to get out to one of those Melting Pot shows.
Yeah.
What else as far as some recordings? Steady 45s released, right? Some.
Oh yeah.
We can't.
They released their Don't Be Late.
And Swing and Swing and Sway? Didn't they have both?
Yeah. So they have like a side where they have Rocksteady, and then the other side is ska. I thought that was like really cool. Yeah. And they released them at different times. So.
Right.
And they're very, very successful release party they had in
Oh yeah, right here in Orange County too. Yeah. That
was Santa.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Western Standard Time released an album last year too, didn't they? Or was that the year before?
That was the year before.
Yeah, it was the year before.
Okay.
The vinyl.
Oh, the Tombstone one, right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, we're like mashing everything together. There's so much music, but it's a good thing.
For me personally, I it's not ska, but it was Lee Fields' Faithful Man got released this year, and Lee Fields is a soul artist.
Yep.
I think he's over at Daptone now.
Yes.
And then the Monophonics from up north released Sage Motel, and I went to one of those release shows in LA.
Both yeah.
Those guys are awesome.
Yes. I've seen them both, and I would agree with you on that.
So how about Untouchables? You guys have a forthcoming release?
Oh my goodness.
Well, you did release.
We did release
last
45 this year.
So why are you keeping it a secret?
It's a picture disc available at Jump Up Records. Limited amount were pressed. It is the first picture disc the Untouchables released in like 30 something years, maybe 30 years.
Give a description. What do you mean? Picture?
It's a cover of Hooked on a Feeling. So it's oh man, it's hard to explain. It's like it's almost got a ska and reggae feel meshed up together. And it was recorded, man, it was either recorded in December of 18 or 19, and it was released as part of a fundraiser for Specialized Project in the UK, and we were actually supposed to go out to the UK to play the Specialized big one event in 2020. But you know, when the pandemic happened. But we did end up, Chuck at Jump Up Record released the album, and it's available at Jump Up Records. And on the back, there's a dubbed out version. And I like I'm not gonna say I like the dubbed out version more, but I like the dubbed out version a lot.
Yeah.
So if you can get your hands on that, I would say grab it, because there's not a lot of them.
And where's it available?
JumpUpRecords.com.
Oh yeah.
And while we're talking about Chuck and Jump Up, I know they also had a few other great releases this last year. Stepdaughters from here in Orange County. They had a album, Stop the Presses, who are more of an East Coast band. They had a Too Hectic ska punk international album that Chuck released. And then Agent J, the Detroit Rhythm Crew meets Crazy Baldhead. That was a really good one as well. Agent J from the Slackers, an album that I think Chuck put out as well this last year. Other notable for me, Rhoda Dakar from Body Snatchers over in London. She had some really cool cover versions of 2 or 3 songs that came out this last year too, and those are always great and fun. What else, Junior?
The Busters from Germany came out with theirs.
Right.
Love Bombs or something like that.
Yep.
I don't have it yet. I ordered it, but I'm waiting for that to come in. And then I think there's a band from New Jersey called Joker's Republic who just actually came in. And they're pretty good. They're punk ska type of thing. And they just had a couple shows out here in December. And I caught them a couple times.
Right.
You don't miss a concert, though.
I try not to. I mean, that's my whole thing is, I live my life for music. So
and Darrell buys a lot of music. Interrupters, we talked about how to not only a great live touring year last year, but also their latest album, really great with some good features too. Tim Armstrong and Rhoda Dakar on one, Greg and Alex from Hepcat on another song, and then the Skints also make a feature on there.
Right,
something for everybody on that Interrupters album, man.
It really is. Yeah, definitely varied style-wise. Yeah. I also like the Bruce Lee Band album that came out last year. Mike Park. That was a good politically oriented. We had a good conversation with Mike earlier last year.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, but it was. I think it was a decent year for some album releases. Yeah, I'm sure there are a bunch more, but those are some good highlights.
A lot of stuff I don't get, unfortunately.
Yeah, no disrespect to anybody we haven't mentioned.
Yes. Disclaimer. Absolutely, disclaimer there.
Yeah, Mike and Dill Records, when he was doing Dill, that was a huge inspiration for me when I started out. Also, try to model his label.
You know what's funny is my nickname in my fraternity that my big brother gave me was Skink and Pickle, because that was the only ska band he was aware of.
Yeah.
So he would call me Pickles. Only 2 guys in the whole fraternity called me Pickles. But
that's great. Actually, 2 more. Night Owls, Dan Ubig's project with Roger Rebus, Dave Wilder, and Blake. Some great releases there coming out of his studio. And then I haven't listened to all of them, but I know that Stubborn Records had a series of really cool, I think all cover versions of earlier recordings of Stubborn Record releases.
Like Stubborn All-Stars and stuff?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Coming out of that whole camp. So that was there were a series of those releases this last year. So nice. And Jackie, more releases this coming year from you?
Yeah, my next one will be off of Sola, so that's more of like soul style, but it's very Mary Wells influence, more up-tempo stuff.
Excellent.
Which I've always loved. I wrote a original song for them, and I actually collabed with my friend Adrian Carmine. So he's more from the soul scene as well. He's amazing. He does all his own recordings, plays every instrument. And so he's been on their team pretty much recording the tracks. And he showed me a track and said, hey, what do you think? And I really liked it. It kind of just, I don't know, I feel like whenever someone shows me a track and it catches my attention, and I'll just already have a melody right away. So that's when I know I'm like, all right, I need to do something with it. Yeah. So that's gonna come out hopefully next month. I actually had worked with Adrian, and then as far as like all the cover arts, Chris also does all that from the capsules. He does a lot of the graphic design for us. And everything that you've seen me put out, he's done. Cause I love his work, and he just gets me. So it's always nice to just like have like keep it in the family and work together, support each other. So that's gonna be the first release, and then we're gonna see. I mean, I really do want to make it happen. I have yet to release a full-length album. That's like a really huge goal of mine, only because I have like a year's worth of songs that I just kind of put away and would play live here and there just to kind of see the reaction. And finally I was like, you know what, let's record these songs, let's do it. So once I teamed up with Eric, I felt like I had that freedom to just like, not that I never did, but more of the freedom to just say, hey, let's record this, let's record that, because we're doing it ourselves, so it works out. And I'm very, very grateful for Eric. I think a lot of this wouldn't have been possible without him teaming up with me and saying, dude, let's record some stuff, let's release your music. And he also plays with me now in the band, so it's just been great. Like the chemistry that we have right now is just amazing, and I want to keep it that way. As far as like the lineup that I have right now, they're all really busy musicians, so I'm really trying to take advantage of the fact that I have them right now, because you just never know. People come and go, you know?
And name drop.
They see talent, they get picked up by somebody else, and you know, you're happy for them because you want them to succeed. So my thing is, I need to take advantage of the lineup that I have right now. I think it's
and touch on those musicians.
Yeah, of course. So I have Chris. He plays with the Capsules, Agrolites, he plays with everybody. So I have him on drums. He's been playing with me for quite some time now. So he's been playing with me. Wally Caro has been playing with me for a long time now. Zach Pike, and then now Eric on bass. So, and then Tony Medina from the he was in Delirians, now in the Illusions, now plays with Brenton Wood. So I just feel grateful to be able to have these musicians still make time to, you know, jam out with me. And it's really awesome to just have them there. Not only are they great people, but they're just all super talented, and they make like just recording and writing so easy because they just throw in their flavor. Like I show them a song, and then it's like, we just get together and it's like magical. At least to me, that's how I see it. I feel like there's a great chemistry there. We're all friends. We all, you know, love the music, and they're very supportive of me, and they dig what I do. So that's always nice. So I'm hoping that I do have a full length by this year. I have a lot of stuff that I want to share, and it would just be great to be able to like say, oh, I wrote like all this, so here you go.
Fingers
crossed. So that would be a big like accomplishment for me to be able to release all the songs that I wrote and with them as well.
Those musicians that you mentioned, your top names that, you know, backloaded the legends when they're in Southern California.
Yeah, and it's a treat to be able to like jam out, especially like Wally. He's been in the scene for so long. Zach as well. And I love hearing their stories, and they have so much knowledge. So it's like you learn so much just from playing with people that have been a part of this. And I think it's great that they're still around and they're still doing it. And I feel really lucky to have them in my band for sure.
That's great.
I remember one story that Keyboard Tony told is that every trip that Derek Morgan has made since 2010 to Los Angeles, he played the keys.
Yeah.
By accident or by design.
Well, this last time he's like, I want to play keys. He straight up told her, hey man, like, I want to play. And then, Scotty's been a keyboard player, but he's so cool. He's like, well, I'm going to play guitar. And I'm like, oh, shit, cool. So, like, they all did a little switcheroo, but I think he just feels like I have to be there. Like, I've been playing with them, and he knew the songs already, so it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was like my first time actually ever being on stage with a Jamaican legend. I feel like which I don't mind at all, I've always been in the crowd. So for me, it was surreal to actually be a part of it. That was like definitely.
It was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And you did an amazing job covering.
Really
Thank you.
Covering those songs by Patsy.
Yes.
Thank you.
I did want to bring up. Jackie mentioned Scotty. For those of you that don't know, Scotty plays keys with the Steady 45s. However, he has a band called Mochilero, formerly Mochilero All Stars in San Diego.
Right.
And they are awesome.
So, I know, I actually thought about them after the fact that you guys are mentioning bands from San Diego, and I feel like I really want them to come back to LA and just like their style's like not like anyone else's. It's dope.
Yeah.
They're very lovers rock style, so I dig that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I was just saying, I saw that group at the Jason Lawless little thing at Slide Bar, a little memorial that. But Bubba, you got up there and played as well.
Yeah, that was one of our Moonstomp events, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And it was planned, but all of that happened right before it. So
right.
Yeah, and Mochilero All Stars were on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about another sad occurrence in Terry Hall from the Specials, his passing just before the holidays. An outpouring of love and appreciation and remembering someone who influenced. I mean, I knew he influenced a lot of bands, but just seeing on social media, all the musicians and fans, just outpour of love. I'm blessed to have seen, numerous times over the years. But definitely a big loss, for not just our scene, but just world of music. Band that was super important, right? For numerous reasons, right?
Yeah, and there's Toots, here's a song, Terry Hall, Toots and the Maytals, the Scatterlights, and You Roy. One of my favorite songs. And I had absolutely no idea who was Terry Hall until last week. I decided to play the song again, and I recognized the name, and I was able to put it together. Terry Hall, wicked, never grow old. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the song I think that got Toots the last Grammy, if I'm not mistaken. Extremely well done. Yes. Nothing more to be deserved on that song.
Yeah,
talking about
that's from his
Scatterlights.
True Love album, right?
Scatterlights, Scatterlights, You Roy, Terry Hall.
The
when you have that kind of combination, is gold.
Yeah.
Bubba?
And Toots and the Maytals announced, I think yesterday, that his daughter's going to be taking over singing, and they're going to keep going, and she's the lead singer now for Toots and the Maytals.
The same band or another band?
I believe it's the same backing band he was using.
That'll be wonderful. Yeah.
Oh wow, I did not know that. Okay, I'll have to check.
I just popped up on Instagram like on the 2nd, I think.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Did everyone have a chance to see the Specials over the years?
Yeah.
One of my bands was, played with them in '98, so that was pretty good.
Wow.
The Hippos played with them at the Glass House.
Wow.
How fun.
Yeah. And then I got to see him when I was hung out with Wally and Robert, and we got to see them at Jimmy Kimmel a couple of years back.
Nice.
Oh, I think
that was right before Linville got sick or something.
Yeah.
I saw their story on Instagram, and Wally was wearing his bomber jacket. I was like, oh, the bomber jacket is back out.
Yeah, we had a good time that day.
Yeah. Well, big.
I got to see them at Punk Rock Bowling
Oh,
last year. That was epic. They had just released their newer album. It was a really good show. Videos. I was like in the pit. I don't go in pits, but you know, for them I will.
I heard that was quite.
It wasn't really a pit. It was more like little dance area. But that was the last time I saw them.
You
so
know when you kind of see some bands for the first time, or when you start going to concerts and you kind of get the chills, like the Specials give me the chills every time. Like every time. That's how like there's very few bands that give me the chills every time. And the Specials were one of them.
Yes, I would agree with you.
It like really tripped me out because I actually went to go see Roddy Radiation at Characters. It's a small, you know, place in Pomona. Gonzo actually throws stuff there. So he had him there, and Zach and Dan were playing with them.
Oh.
So Zach actually texted me and was like, hey, like, we're going to be in Pomona. And I hadn't seen Dan in forever. Like, he literally disappeared because the whole pandemic and just, you know, everybody's busy, but I have not seen him in so long. And I was like, oh my God, I want to see Dan. Like, I miss him. That would be cool. And it's more intimate and, you know, why not? And I saw him like literally right before the whole like Terry Hall passed. So I just thought that was like a weird coincidence.
Yeah, it was right before, right?
That I saw him and I heard the, you know, he plays some of the Specials tunes, and then that happened. So it was pretty trippy to me. That was like the last, I guess, like Specials that I heard live, but it wasn't the whole band. But still, I just thought that was pretty crazy, like the timing.
Yeah, true.
So you haven't seen the band, and it's
no, I saw the band. I just mean like as far as recent, like it was just weird to me that I saw them. And then I heard the songs, and then like literally, I want to say like
these are the guys.
Later, it was like he's gone. So
yeah,
it's a bum out, you know. But I remember the punk. That was the last time was the punk rock bowling.
Yeah, no, I heard amazing things about that performance. Yeah,
it was pretty epic. Yeah, it was awesome.
Or Darrell, did either of you get to go to the music benefit earlier this year?
No, but I have friends that went, and I've seen some footage. It's pretty.
I totally had FOMO. I've never had it so bad in my whole life until I saw those videos.
No, I really wanted to go. Unfortunately, Lionel Richie was playing in Vegas, so that's where I was.
Of course you are.
Of course, and Cool in the Gang too.
Oh, wow.
I was working Cali Vice Fest, but no, I mean it was amazing to have Linville, Terry Hall. No, Linville was not there. Horace, yeah. Terry,
Jesse Michaels.
Yes, with the Interrupters and Tim Armstrong, and yeah, I mean it was pretty cool from what I've seen, photos and videos of. So that was their last time here. His last time. So.
That's a great event too. If anyone could ever swing going to those events, the music events, the Untouchables played it right before the pandemic.
For a good cause, yeah.
Yeah, Jason, I don't know if you guys can see this. Jason was a very big part of it, or his troupe.
Oh yeah.
They made some commemorative coins. I'll point you in the right direction. Hit me up on the socials. But yeah, that music they provide instruments for kids that are learning how to play instruments and they can't afford them. And I know a lot about that. So it's a really good organization. So if the next time that event pops up, you know, and I mean, you were rubbing elbows with like Shepard Fairey and like Moby and like, you know what I mean? And you're just hanging out and it's a good time. And yeah, if you can swing it or support it or even buy merch or, you know, check it out.
Good. So now let's talk about looking ahead. First 3 months of 23 are pretty darn busy. There's a lot of great shows. Jackie, you touched on some of you have a couple coming up. You can remind our listeners and viewers of Bubba, you as well, and then we can talk about a few others.
Sure. Well, the event this Sunday is like we're just spinning, but what's cool about it is that we actually just got the red variant of my record that came out this year on Blackbird. So we had the traditional black record, but now we have the red one. We were supposed to get them at the same time, but they had a little confusion at the plant. And we ended up saying, just send us what you guys have. We freaking waited like a million years already. Like, I was just eager to have them. And then they were nice enough to be like, well, we'll give you the extras if you want.
Cool.
On us, it's, you know, our bad. But we had to wait a while until we got the red ones, and we happened to get them not too long ago. So we're making a thing out of it. Whoever wants to swing by and purchase a record right then and there, no shipping. I always like meeting everybody and signing stuff, which I never really did that before, but recently people are like, hey, can you sign my record? I'm like, oh, all right, cool. So I'm doing kind of that, and then just taking some merch. I got some leftover stuff from the record release. We did a lot of merch revolved around the release that kind of all flows together, like as far as prints, shirts. So that's this Sunday. And then the next one that I'm like really excited about is at the Miracle Theater in Inglewood. I'm going to be opening up for Dave Hilliard and the Rocksteady 7 and Roger Rivas. So that's February 10th at the Miracle Theater in Inglewood.
That's the Friday.
So that's going to be a sick show. So that's the
go to that show.
Yes.
Everyone needs to go to that show.
And if you want to see Dave Hilliard here in the LA area, that's your opportunity, because the next night,
that's right,
that show's now sold out. Hepcat with Bite Me Bambi and Dave Hilliard.
And Dave Hilliard's support on the Hepcat show and the Miracle Theater show, he's going to be headlining.
Yes.
You know, the show. And then plus you got Jackie and you got Roger, and Roger put his band together too. A lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun night for sure.
But it's gonna be a good night.
That'll be a good one.
That's my soonest one. That's
nice.
Pretty much as of now what I'm gonna be doing.
Okay.
As far as the beginning of the year.
Yep. And then we touched on Steady 45s playing the Dub Club. We touched on the big Ska Land show, right?
Scotland, yeah. So Scotland's on the 28th, and you got, I think the Delirians, the 45s, and Western Standard Time are on that show, as well as a bunch of other ska core bands and ska bands. I'm trying to remember who's headlining. Is it Inspector?
Yeah. I think I saw Inspector on the flyer.
Yeah, and then Western Standard Time with Jesse Wagner singing. Yeah, that'll be a good one. And then we touched
the Planet Smashers from
that's right,
Canada are coming down too.
Yes, half past 2 playing with them, right.
Sorry, didn't mean to take away from Stranger Cool.
No,
no, but
that's a big one.
Yeah, but
playing at South Bay Customs on January 12th.
Yes, and they're playing down in San Diego as well. But yeah, that's Planet Smashers and half past 2. And then yes, we have the legendary Stranger Cold returning for the first time since, if you had to guess, his last performance.
About 2013.
All right, so 10 years since Stranger Cold's been.
He came with Muncie somewhere around there.
Right, and he'll be back by Steady 45s, who do an incredible job in backing the legends. And then on this particular show as well, we have the Legions, cool band from LA as well. Yeah,
a lot of legends came together to form that band.
Yes, some veterans from the scene, but yeah, cool band. DJ Mila, Lady Isla, and Marv Mack. So based on how cool and great the Derek Morgan show was, we're happy to have another big legend show coming. So
yeah, let's sell that one out too, man.
Sell that one out.
That was so crazy. Not that I was like, I'm not trying to underestimate, but like I just didn't expect that. So out of nowhere, and everybody started freaking out, like, "Oh my god, I didn't get a ticket!" We all thought, "Oh, we could just walk up and whatever." I was fine, but I mean, like, as far as everybody else,
get your tickets early, and another opportunity to see the veterans Ocean 11, which just seeing the footage from the last show, then obviously seeing them at Derek Morgan. I mean, they're sounding as tight as ever. So that's a big one. I know Interrupters are going back around.
Yeah, the Interrupters are doing a headlining nationwide tour, and they got Hepcat on some dates. They got the Scans on some dates.
Yeah, So some cool events happening.
The Supernova Ska Fest out in Virginia.
Yes,
that's going to be huge because Tokyo Ska is coming out.
Ooh.
Yeah, Yeah.
That one's a 3-day festival, but they announced today they might be adding a 4th day on the Thursday before
For free.
for free.
Okay.
And there's going to be after parties on Friday and Saturday, and you got Tokyo Ska, Fishbone, Don Letts, Pie Tasters, Voodoo Glow Skull, Suicide Machines, Stranger Cole.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you got the Duelers are coming out, the Scofflaws, the Planet Smashers are on that one too. I mean, that's just to name a few, and there's going to be more bands announced soon.
But Bubba, might you be out there?
I'm gonna be out there for sure. I'm gonna be out there partying with Roger Rivas all 3 or 4 days for sure.
Cool.
I may or may not appear on one of those stages, but
well, I'll be there.
Awesome.
I already got my tickets.
We're gonna have a good time.
Junior and I might take a road trip. Yeah, so exciting time, right, for the scene with some good shows, and I think that 23 is poised to be just as fun, right, and exciting as last year.
Well, I think one big thing that we're all a part of is what started filming last year, and hopefully will continue this year and be released at the end of the year, is the
Steady Beat film.
Steady Beat film.
Yes.
Yay.
Big props to Kat and Luis. Yes, for that. Yeah, we're excited. That one definitely well needed, and to hear about the 90s ska scene and everything that Luis helped create and keep vibrant. So yes,
the real story. Yeah,
real story.
Yeah, from the horse's mouth.
That's right. Well, as we're reaching our destination, any parting words? I know that we could go on, and we really appreciate your time here, everyone.
Thank you.
And anyone going to
everyone just gets quiet.
Clarendonians are heading to Mexico in April.
I really want to go to April, Mexico. I want to. There's been 2 shows announced in Mexico City already for this year.
And you're really on top of stuff. Yeah, the tenors.
Yeah, I mean,
you're really.
So I don't know. I might be out in Mexico a few times this year as well.
I
keep missing those shows, and I hear about these Mexico City shows, and I see everyone having.
How is the time, my friend?
I know I've missed them too.
They're doing.
Go ahead.
Wait, is it the Pioneers? Right?
Yes.
The Pioneers are playing.
They're the 10th, June 10th. Clarendon, April 15th.
Clarendonians, yeah. And I just want to tell everybody, I mean, like, come out, support, if you can spare the change, to get into some of these shows. Some of them are free, some of them are cheap, some of them aren't cheap, and I understand that, but if you can go. I mean, a lot of these bands, they're not going to be around forever. They're not going to be touring forever. The Agrolites are still playing. I mean, go out and see them. They got a show coming up in North Hollywood.
At the knitting factory that's reopening.
Yeah, the new knitting factory in North Hollywood, formerly the Federal Bar.
Right.
Dave Hilliard, the Slacker, Hepcat has a bunch of shows this year. Anytime, and then support the new bands too. There's a lot of new bands that we didn't even name. So
very well said. Yes.
And if you can, support all forms and waves. And if there's any promoters watching this, mix it up. I know in other cities and other spots around the country, they do mix it up. In LA, we're notorious for kind of like segregating. It just kind of, I think the scene just worked out that way, but maybe just because there's more of us in general. But the scene goes through its waves, and I think it's really important to try to support each other. Promoters support each other, bands support each other, and I got stuff planned for this year that I'm working on too that I hope helps helps boost things a little bit more as well.
We vibe.
Yeah, and bring your nieces and nephews and your cousins and your
Bring the
little
young,
brothers
yes,
and little
bring the
sisters.
young in. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys are looking forward to a massively exciting 2023. It seems. Lots of stuff you're working on, Darrell. Right?
I'm working on my 50th year on this planet. That's what I'm working on.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
50 Club, buddy.
But I thought you some new releases
No, I'm having a
or
private party.
re-releases, right?
No, I'm having a private birthday party on the 50th. You guys will get invitations, but it's going to be a couple big bands that are going to be playing from. They haven't played for about 25 years. So
Wow.
Oh, in addition to the recording, right? Just some recording.
Yeah. So
All right.
So that's what I'm looking forward to in June.
Love it.
In when? June?
June, correct. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep my calendar clear.
Yeah. It's not going to be the weekend of the Pioneers now that I know. And the Claridonians.
Nice. Well, thank you all for joining us here on this special 2022 year in review. And it's great hearing some of your backstories and passions. And thank you all too for all that you do for the scene and
Thank
all
you
the best.
guys.
I was gonna say
yes.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Junior. You guys have, I mean, Reggae Nucleus Eric over here, right? I mean, you know, these guys right here, they've been doing all kinds of stuff for the scene for decades now, and now we're doing this podcast and video cast, and you know,
The work never ends.
Well, we appreciate that. And Junior's always been such a big inspiration, and 3 radio shows a week or 4. I lose track, but no, I'm thankful to have him and to be doing this. And this is our 51st episode here.
Oh wow!
So,
Congratulations!
Perfect, yeah.
1 year older than me and soon to be Darrell. Well, Junior, I think we reached our destination.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Bye, Darrell. Bye,
That's
Bubba.
all.
Bye, Jackie. Bye, Bubba. See you guys soon.
Good
Yeah.
to see you
Multiple
guys.
events in 2023. This
Yes.
year going to bring us together.
We will see.
Yeah,
you
for sure.
soon.
I'm excited.
We'll see you at the Free Untouchables show also, too.
Yeah, there you go. There
Right.
you
And
go.
at Jackie show.
And at the Grasshopper.
Yay! All the shows.
Thanks everyone for the ongoing support out there, whether you listen or watch us, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at History of LA Ska, and join our Facebook group. Follow this gentleman.
Yes, and this series is produced by Rockery Radio. You can find them at Rockery _radio. Yeah, Rockery Radio at Rockery _ Did I say that?
at Rockery _radio, and you can follow this gentleman at Junor Francis. And as we've all said, please get out and support the local scene. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful night. Jackie,
Good night. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye now.
Later.